How we doing? Thanks for tuning in to Clay Allen Live. Tonight I have Philip from Geek Omelet and Joe from Red Cabin Acoustics, and we're going to be talking about counterfeits, clones, and deceptive marketing practices. So, how you guys doing?
Ignore me.
Okay.
I'm not hooking mic up.
Pay no attention to
I'm
the
great.
curtain.
Been a long day, but I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Long Sunday. What's the hustle on Sunday, Joe?
Our semester starts tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I'm teaching tomorrow. Got a lot of new advisees. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah, I was asked to design sound for a play over in the theater department. So yeah. And of course the radio station's always on the air. So
Definitely got your hands full.
yeah.
How about you, Phil?
Well, I'd feel like I was laying out a review in WordPress for my latest projector review
All right.
up on projectorreviews.com. Should be going live on Monday.
Okay, that's cool. Projectorreviews.com, if anybody was curious.
Yeah, it's my day job.
My day job is not that interesting, so we don't need to talk about mine. It's actually quite boring.
Wasn't a very interesting projector, I got to say.
No.
But I don't want to give anything away.
So if anybody is watching, I can't see that part right now. Oh, actually, it says nobody. Well, as soon as somebody is watching, I would like to know how we sound, just in case we need to make any adjustments. But I think I'm going to have to repeat that.
We can tap dance until people show up.
Yeah. I like whatever. What are you using? An ATEM, you said, Philip?
I am using an ATEM. Yeah, the
I like
basic
how he
ATEM Mini.
switches from camera view to camera view so quick and easy and smooth and neat.
It's just to push a button. The hard thing is to know exactly where it's at to my left, so then I can push it. And I've got 4 inputs, although I don't think I've got any other 2 live right now.
Nope.
But
Just a
yeah,
dark-
normally, yep. Normally I display what's on my computer monitor. I feed that to my Apple TV 4K, but I disconnected my Apple TV 4K because that's my primary test device for my projectors.
Mm.
So it's over here on a cart.
Is it
Hey.
dark?
Maybe next time I'll come from the TV studio where we got more cameras. I'm just using one.
This works. I only have one.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple, but I don't have them on, so I don't need
Yeah.
more than one right now. But it's just
Well,
neat.
I'm an
We're
ex
talking
Sony
about
guy,
stuff.
so it's
You've
like
got something on the desk.
lots
You
of
can
cameras.
just switch. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. So anyway, who would like to start this counterfeiting?
You know, I
Well-
sat through an hour and a half of Philip screaming about Guitar Center, so I think he should start.
ah
Okay.
ah.
I rewatched
Oh.
your video yesterday.
Was that the Counterfeits, the Counterfeit Guitar Center website, or was it the Clay thing?
Yeah. No, that was
Oh,
I've
okay.
watched them both, but I went back and watched your cloned website one.
Yeah, that's wow. Oh, that's right. I put that back up, didn't I? Yeah, I turned that off because I thought it's old news. And then I called Guitar Center for another problem, and they were like, "Yeah, our website's still hacked." And that was like weeks after I did that video. I'm like, really?
Really?
You're
I think
you're a musician's friend at Guitar Center, and you can't get it taken down?
I think it happens all the time because I've seen that. I saw that on Facebook last year. I don't think that's a new thing. I think that's a recurrent problem.
What's the website cloning? Is a normal thing that you're saying?
Seems to be because I've seen it more than once.
Here's the thing that shares a certain irritation with me. I get irritated really easily. I ought to be a real hit on YouTube, as negative as I am. You think, you know, but that shares a lot in common with what we're going to talk about tonight, which is, just like counterfeit microphones. If the counterfeiters didn't get so outright greedy and mark them down to too good to be true pricing,
Yeah.
then they'd be an even bigger problem than they are. And that's the thing that those Guitar Center clone guys, that's how I knew it was too good of a deal. I was still loading my cart up just in case they were going out of business, but I didn't log in or anything.
Is that what
but
that
yeah,
is?
if
What
they
was
had
showing us?
just marked it down like 25%, they probably would have got more people. But
The first time I saw the Guitar Center site hacked, the first thing I did was I got out of Facebook and I went to my account and went to look for the same things that was on that account. And then I typed in Guitar Center scam ? And yeah, then the news feed just filled up. So I think people just need to be buyer beware.
Yeah. If it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. 99% of the time.
So I have something in possession that kind of fits this category, but I do want to do a video about it. But I'm just going to say it's an X name brand of headphones that I saw on Amazon for basically $200, $199.99, and it was marked down to $49. And then there was a $24 coupon. So they were only $26. And they're not $200 worth of headphones. They are not. Like,
what you're talking about there, Clay, is where I knew a line had been, or at least I noticed a line had been crossed. I'm sure that line had been crossed long before I noticed it. But when you're buying product off of Amazon, even though it's a marketplace, it's Amazon.
Yeah.
And that you can get fake product on Amazon. That Amazon is now no better than AliExpress.
Yeah. Well,
scary.
That's why when I purchase Amazon, I tend to just stick with the brand store. Do you know what I'm talking about? And,
yep.
But these things, I'm gonna do a video about them, so you'll find out more.
And one of the other ways to get around that, right, is you have the official store, but then you've got anybody that's setting up a store, and then they'll get a counterfeit SM7B and a $5 shock mount, and $5 shock mount and or a stand, a $5 stand, and then a couple other accessories, and they'll package it and sell it for about what the real one would cost. And you're saying, oh, look, I'm getting all this for free, but none of it's worth anything.
Right.
That's how some of the package deals work from unscrupulous sellers. Not that all of them are, but some of them are.
Well, Joe, since you mentioned the SM7B, I think that's a good starting place, because this is, I wouldn't say it's the granddaddy, probably the SM58 is the granddaddy of the counterfeited microphones. But certainly the SM7B has become, I think, the most counterfeited microphone out there, and at multiple levels. And what's frustrating about it is every iteration, because these come out of multiple factories. This is what I've found out in talking to different people on the forums that are actually still connected to microphone manufacturing and China. There are multiple factories. Some of them they call them pop-ups, just like, I think it's hilarious that they're referring to them using the same verbiage that I used to use in marketing when I was doing marketing. We're going to do a pop-up. But they have pop-up factories that they crank out and then they shut down. They move on because, in China, I just read an article from last year where Shure and the Chinese government did a token raid. Basically, they put people in jail, but basically it's a token, and they shut it down for one day and then it's back up the next day. Huh. But this microphone, I bought this knowing full well it was a counterfeit. And it's not even the best counterfeit out there. All the telltales that people talk about, things like, that it's the capsule's wrong. Well, it's not. About the distance from the front. Well, it's not. About the knobs not tightening down. Well, they do. or about the rubber grommets coming out, which it's not. It doesn't. The only telltale on this one, other than the fact that it's got handling noise and the real SM7B doesn't, is that when you take off this backplate, it's not brass underneath. But there's already been an iteration of this one, and now it's a brass backplate. So what got me?
What's on the name brand one? Brass?
Yeah, on the real one, if you take the backplate off, if it's fake, it's steel, basically. I don't know, like metal, grayish silver, right?
Yeah.
Just steel, stamped, steel. But on the real Shure SM7B and SM7DB, you pull that off, and the back behind the back plate, the I don't know what you'd call it, the supporting plate that holds the circuitry for the cut filters and the bypasses and everything here, that's brass. It's made out of brass. So and there are other things that Shure knows. It's one of the ways that they work to try and help people figure out if it's fake. But they can only have so many of those things unless they do something like, we were talking about the other night, which is take a more proactive role and put a serial number on every single one of them.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about. Just simple.
So, but
like the good old days.
Yeah, I mean that as a former marketing guy who's got a special place in marketing hell for when I die, for the awful things that I convince people to buy that they didn't need.
Yeah.
That stinks to me like a marketing decision. Gosh, we can sell more of these things because if we don't have the serial number on them, then we don't. We just tell people, well, buy a new one, which is what they do. Buy a new one and only buy it from an authorized retailer. Except now there's so much fake inventory out there. There's so much counterfeit inventory that I read stories online of people who buy SM7Bs and SM58s and 57s from authorized retailers, and they're not real. That has crossed a line, I think. And the thing that kind of got me so upset was how it ruins the used market for those of us that want to buy a product. Unless you're willing to put a significant amount of work in to really, and even then, not even be sure. I bought an SM58 used off of Musician's Friend used market. I know what it's like. The retailer's doing their best, but they can't catch everything. I got it for, it was like $49 because the picture showed it was beat up. But when it arrived, it was just bad photography. The mic was like in pristine shape. And I'm like, this has got to be fake. And so I pulled it down and I compared it to my other SM58. I couldn't hear a difference between them. I did all the checks that I knew how to do. I couldn't tell. So I took a bunch of photos. I called Shure and they were very nice. So yeah, send it to us. But in the end, they could not even or would not even say to me, we think it's real. We think it's fake. When it's that good, and I sent them 2 rounds of photographs. When it's that good, when the fake is potentially that good that they can't say for sure, there's something missing that they're suspicious. So they're not going to say it's real, but they can't be sure that it's fake. Why would I ever buy a used SM58 again unless I knew for a fact, right, that I knew the person who bought it, that bought it first, where they bought it from, they still had the box. And even then, I'm not so sure that in the back of my mind, I wouldn't be like, I don't know.
Why, Philip, got to tell you something. Boxes are easier to counterfeit than microphones are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I got it. I was going to bring it over. I was like, everybody's seen it. Yeah, the boxes are.
The boxes are. Yeah.
Sure. At least changes their boxes on a regular basis, right? They just did an update a couple of years ago to the lettering. I've got a fake one, and then I've got a real one, and the real one, the SM58, is now being copied by all the by the counterfeiters. So, and they copy everything down to the paperwork on the inside, the warranty registration, the phone number to register or call if you think it's fake is on the fake box.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, the warnings and all of that, they copy everything, and they do a good job copying it. And if these guys ever put any effort into just making their own microphones, although I suspect, here's another suspicion, I'm going to get myself in trouble. I suspect that some of these factories that they're coming out of, they're not just copy factories. They have contracts to produce microphones legitimately. There's not an unlimited number of microphone manufacturers in China. There are a lot of them, but so I suspect that these guys actually produce real microphones. But if they ever just said, because I got to say, this microphone, it doesn't sound bad. I should have hooked it up. It does not sound bad. It actually, I would say that it's worth every penny of the $59 that I paid for it. And quite honestly, it sounds like a $200 microphone. I've used $200 microphones that don't sound as good as this one does. And not that it sounds like an SM58, but it's not bad. And Lord knows I've had more than a few real, not copied, bad microphones in my hands.
So does the fact that it's not bad mean that it's worth buying for $50 or
no
$5?
No.
Are you saying so?
No. I mean, unless we're ready to give up, right? And say, use market. Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, if it were not a counterfeit, would it be worth $50? It sounds like it would be if it were a counterfeit. Yeah. And we're talking about a couple different things: the worth of a microphone versus the worth of messing up the economy of microphone buying.
Right.
And I know there are a lot of people out there who are saying, what do I care if I like the way it sounds, and it gives me the visual credibility of I'm a professional podcaster because I have something that really looks like a Shure SM7B on my desk. I get it. The desire to, especially now that Shure's raised their price 10% across the board. So it was already expensive at $399. I mean, this is where I get myself in trouble. I don't think in 2025 that the SM7B is worth $399. I just don't.
Well, you're right. And I think that we're at this weird inflection point that it's, I'm not saying that I'm the wise old man on the hill, but I've been sitting back watching all this stuff happen. I've been watching all this stuff happen, right? So, all of my SM7Bs hail from the early 2000s, and they're all still working. So there's that, right? But they're also hanging on mic stands in the studio 24/7 and get used all the time. My Electro Voice mics are used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Not 24 hours a day, because sometimes our stuff is voice tracked, so it's time shifted. Mm-hmm. But they're used all day, every day. Last week, I talked into one for 18 hours in one day. I did a marathon. So that's the thing that we don't know about the counterfeits. So if you're a working professional, not a hobbyist, and I'm not trying to be demeaning. I'm not trying to do any of those things, but it's like your tools, right? You're talking last week with Clay about tools. If you're a working professional and you need that Milwaukee Sawzall, because that's what you're going to use all day, every day, because your job is to tear apart kitchens before the next crew comes and puts kitchens in, then that expense is going to pay for itself because you're using it all day, every day, and and it sounds good. Most people don't think about longevity. And again, I don't mean it to be pejorative, but the vast majority of people on YouTube are not making money. They're not professionals, and even if they're making a little bit, they're not paying their rent by being on YouTube. So we have to come up with a new language model for this, right? They're hobbyists, or they're part-time, or whatever. But the idea that you need one is ridiculous, especially with YouTube compression and most people listening with garbage speakers. It just, for most people, it doesn't matter. It's a look thing. And for that reason, you could probably say, I am going to sell you a knockoff SM57 that no one can tell the difference of, and it's going to cost you $50, and they would sell a bunch of them without having to try to cheat. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It would be better that way if people didn't think they were getting a real one.
But I know it's just a thought exercise. I know you're not saying people should spend their money on these. I'm quite clear on that. I hope everybody in the audience is. Neither of us are saying that. When I say this microphone is worth $50, it's worth, honestly, twice. That's just a cost versus what it sounds like. And you're right. I don't know. I suspect this is not going to last. When you open this up and you look at the electronics, I mean, I see discussions about this all the time on Group DIY and the other boards that I'm on there. I started a thread because I wanted to have sort of a recording hacks repository for like mic PCBAs, for all the different ones, because there's not that many of them out there, but that you could buy to build your own mic. And so I started this thread on Group DIY. Hopefully someday to turn into something more. But the consistent thing that the guys like yourself who understand what really goes into the manufacture of these microphones, whenever I'd look at it, I go, I mean, I know it's all the Shep circuit and yeah, a lot of these have WEMA capacitors on them and they're really good and, all that kind of stuff. But the reality is they're always talking about, but look at the quality of the solder. Look at are each of the soldering points, are they coated, right? Are they protected? Look, there's already some rust forming over there in areas that unless you really know what to look for, you can't see it. And all of that are reasons not to buy these microphones. All those are reasons not to buy even legitimate low-end Chinese microphones unless you're not needing it to be in for the long haul. If you don't mind it having the life of a television, maybe,
Well, and the other thing is those WEMA capacitors are probably also knockoffs.
Oh, good point. Really good
right?
point.
I mean, I don't trust anything in the garbage. Do you want to get to that comment, Clay?
Which one?
I don't know. Someone just put up a long
comment that I just put up.
Yeah, it was. I think from Livestream Consultants. Was he saying something about buying mics?
Yeah, it's such a long comment.
There we go.
Too much room on the thing.
That's okay.
That begs the question: if the copies and fakes are good enough for $50 to $100, you would think it would make companies like Shure set up and serialize their mics and bring them up in quality.
Yeah, I actually went looking for numbers the other day. Shure is they're a private company, so they don't publicize their sales numbers. But there are people in the industry, the folks up at KPMG, who also, Sony didn't say what we did every year, but they were able to poll the retailers and poll experts out in the field and come up with a reliable number of what the company did in sales in different categories. So there are people that are posting numbers, and I wish I'd brought it with me. But when you look at, I read an article that Shure was in, and they were talking about this one factory that they took down in China that had produced something like, they estimated something like just this one location had done, a couple of $1 million in business. That's a couple of $1 million that Shure doesn't get. right?
Yeah.
And that's just that one location. And then
SM,
if you estimate,
SM7Bs?
I'm assuming they do
Oh.
multiples, SM7Bs,
Oh, okay.
SM58s. Basically, I was telling Clay, my logic for what microphone I'm probably never going to buy used again unless I'm just willing to spend even more time is if it's for sale on AliExpress, look elsewhere, because
Well, there are other they're not made in China. Don't buy any Shure microphone that's made in China, because
but they are made in China.
No, 7Bs are made in Mexico. I'm saying they're not. Shure is not going to sell the SM7Bs to China to have them sell them to come here when they're imported from Mexico.
But the box doesn't say it's made in China, the fake box, because
right. But you don't go to a Chinese website to buy something from Mexico.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm not suggesting you buy a microphone off of AliExpress. One, because they're not really a good deal. Even what few legitimate microphones from Chinese companies that are up there, it's not a better deal that you get. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's more expensive, especially now with tariffs. But what I'm saying is, if you need a test to say, I'm at risk buying this brand, this model used, if it's for sale on AliExpress, because AliExpress is not authorized to sell any legitimate brand of microphone, with the possible exception of Bifei, which is a Chinese company. So, it doesn't matter. But if you're thinking about buying a used Shure and you can buy it for sale, that model number on Ali, it's just sort of a look elsewhere if you can. I mean, if you need an SM7B, then go get an SM7B.
Just up and get one.
But
that's what you really need.
But if it's for sale on AliExpress and you're thinking about buying it used, I'm fast getting to the point where, unless you're willing to invest the time and effort to do, I mean, it's hard enough to figure out what mic works on your voice, right? To get to the point of buying. But because of counterfeiters, then you have to go to the next step. And after you spend the money and after the box comes in, then you need to do additional work to make sure it's real. I mean, yes, you register it, right? But I mean, and if you suspect that it's fake, then you got to go through the effort to discover that. And if you bought it used, chances are you're not going to get your money back if it turns out to be a fake. And so there are enough really good microphones from every major mic manufacturer that aren't being counterfeited yet. There are plenty of Shure microphones. You can't get, if you need a gaming microphone, the SM6, that's not being counterfeited yet. It's a USB-C gaming microphone. It's based off of the 7B. It's like a little brother. It's a good USB microphone.
Yeah.
If you want a condenser mic, you want an SM4, it's not being counterfeited yet. So you can buy an SM4 in the used market and feel pretty confident, I think 100% confident that it's not a fake, because you can't buy these on AliExpress. It's not one of the models you can get. But if you buy a used SM58 or you buy a used SM7B or you buy a used Sennheiser MK4, fake, looks real. It's even got the QR code for, this. I mean, it is, I can visually still, there are things on this that you can tell mainly when you look at it from behind. On the real ones, there's certain parts of the capsule and the capsule mount that are hidden, occluded. And they're not on the fake one. So, but you have to get the microphone. You have to pay the money to get it. And then, I mean, you think every retailer on AliExpress is going to give your money back because you find out it's a fake? They're not. And AliExpress is only going to support refunds for so many. Yeah. I've been planning a series of videos about this topic. And obviously you can tell from, I'm still discombobulated, about the exact methodology. Because I don't want to say to people, gosh, don't buy used. But I can't. I'm fast getting there. On these microphones that are being counterfeited. I am.
Which is so that you highlight a couple things. One time, sometimes it's very difficult when you have a topic that you're passionate about, wrapping your head around it to understand a good place to start and stop, and encapsulate it so you actually make sense. And then the other thing is having enough of the information is so difficult in order to explain it in a way that makes sense for a one-off. You could do a series on them but you'd have to buy them all, right? Because no one's going to send you fakes to talk about them being fakes, right?
I spent the money on a fake Neumann and not the Temu Neumann, an actual Neumann with Neumann packaging, and but I didn't pay Neumann pricing for it. But I spent more on it than I should have.
Which one was that one?
This is the dynamic, the BCM 705.
Oh yeah.
And when you look at here, I'll take it out. This is the first time I've taken it out of the packaging. I haven't even opened it up, saving it for my video. But when you compare this to the packaging, that it actually comes in, this is so good.
I wouldn't know.
It is
the Neumann packaging. So
it is just so good. Right down to where's the I guess it's on the card on the inside, or it's covered up with the label here. But no, there it is. Here it is, right here. Right down to now. I don't know if that's actually correct. I saw somebody talking about how this is not where they actually produce these anymore. But they've gone to the trouble of, putting a German address on there.
Can I just point something out about this packaging?
Yeah.
That I wouldn't know because I've never bought one. And there's a lot of the people that watch what I put out wouldn't know how to spot that. We would not know these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't tell the differences between the fake and the real packaging. We can't. The things you guys are telling me right now, I have no clue. So how would somebody know this?
It becomes harder because that microphone new sells for, what is it? $799 to $1,000, depending on where you buy it from, legitimately.
Yeah, at least.
Even used, it's closer to $1,000 than it is $500. The SM7B is $449. The SM7DB is $549. That Sennheiser MK4, that's an expensive microphone, even though I think it's like new $499.
Yeah, I think it's 500. Yeah.
And it's not so much off of AliExpress because they're all dirt cheap on AliExpress. But I was just on eBay the other day because I was telling Clay I bought this microphone right here. This is one of my new finds. It's a sterling audio microphone that I've never heard anything but disdain for from people reviewing it, because I get it. It's a cheap condensed. It's the 151.
Oh, I've got one.
I think it sounds like they tuned it for the radio. I mean, Howard Stern uses a TLM 103 and his voice sounds great on it. Now, there's no doubt that he's equalizing it. But the big part of that is because he said it, my voice sounds good on this microphone. That's why I use it. This sounds like they were when they were putting it together and going, gosh, what do we want it to sound like? I think somebody said, well, we want it to sound like a TLM 103. We want it to have that nice little scoop with the enhanced bass and, the tingly high end and sparkly high end. And I think for most people now, I've got my rumble reduction on, so it's taken some of the bass out of my voice. Plus, I think it's exhausting to constantly have that radio kind of sound going on for more than like 15 minutes. But it's still, I don't have a deep bassy voice. I've got a deep voice, but I'm no Barry White. I'm no Joe at Red Cabin Acoustics, right? But this microphone makes my voice, it brings that out. And I spent $30 for it used on eBay.
Yeah, it was a Guitar Center mic, and it's interesting though, because I put the 151 in the same category that a lot of people put the AKG Perception 100, or which is a little bit better, actually quite a bit better. But they were poo-pooed at the time because they were lower end compared to the other ones, right? Or you put the M Audio Nova, which looks, talking about, imitation being the sincerest form of flattery. It's not as big, but it's the same shape as an 87, right? And those were thought of as pretty meager mics when they were made. But now, because there's been so much junk made because the internet exploded, we look back at the 151 or the AKG Perception 100 and go, wow, these are pretty good. So I think that our the way we listen to them has changed, and people will pick up some of those old microphones that were thought of as being not very good, and they realize that they're not that bad, especially with a couple of capacitors changed.
I'm honestly, I what blows me away about this is that I wouldn't recommend this microphone for anybody except a podcaster that wants that radio sound out of the box. Somebody who doesn't have the desire or the ability to process their microphone, right?
Are you using?
And there's a lot of people
in the Vocaster.
Sorry, say that again.
Are you using much processing in the Vocaster with that one right now, or none?
No, I'm just using the rumble reduction because I didn't want you guys to hear my fans.
Sounds pretty good. So if that's the sound plain, then yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's cutting right now. Basically, it's just cutting everything below 60 hertz, 20 to 60. So that's basically it. So yes, technically I am using processing, but I'm not using anything other than a cut filter, and that's, again, well, here, I mean, I can turn it off. Here, let me turn the enhance. All right, so the enhancement is off now. I don't know if you guys can hear a difference.
Not much.
Or not.
No.
Yeah. I mean, basically all it's doing is just taking out a little bit of that fan noise, which is also cutting out a little bit of the bass, but it's not dramatic. I paid $30 for this. You can get them for $35 all over eBay. And so I think an out of the box, if you're a YouTuber and you're looking for that sound, it's a cheap way to get into it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Obviously, I think, Joe, the Perception 100 and the 200 and the 400 is far better than this.
I think he wants to add to the thing.
Me too. The only thing is right, if you get that microphone and you go out and you source, so you get it for $35 and you source a $150, $200, CK12 capsule or an RK47 capsule, and you put it in there. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a great microphone.
Yeah. Right? And as you and as you get better and you start learning how to process your voice, right? Even if you don't change the capsule that's in here, because I played around with it, if you want to have a little more sparkle on the high end, even though they've tuned it to mute that a little bit, it's still there. The capsule has the capability. So you play with the frequencies, the higher frequencies, you get more of that. I don't know what microphone this is actually copying. I mean, aren't most microphones just kind of copies of a very small number of microphones out there? I mean, when it comes to the circuit and it comes to the capsule, there's not an infinite number, especially when it comes to condenser microphones.
Yeah, one of the things that makes it difficult I've been thinking a lot about this lately. It's like for good and for bad, one of the things that microphone manufacturers are up against is this idea that they have to keep selling microphones, but you've got the transformerless circuit and the circuit with the transformer, based on a very handful of very old designs, and those circuits are not copyrightable. They're not protectable. So you make them in different colors and different sizes and a little slightly different voicings. And I started thinking about microphones in the same way that I was thinking about fishing lures, right? You can have all the spoons or all the minnow lures or whatever you want. They come in slightly different sizes, but they all swim the same, and they're slightly different color. And I can't remember who said it to me, but they said, fishing lures are not made to catch fish; they're made to catch fishermen.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm a guitar player. It's like guitars, same way. I mean, at a certain point, you're adding, sparkle to convince a buyer to spend more, but it's not making the guitar sound any better.
Right.
At a certain point, it's.
Yeah. So live stream consultants just popped up and said he'd rather buy RE20s, and I have to admit, the first four, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 5 SM7Bs I bought because I didn't have the budget to buy Electro Voice mics. Nothing against Shure, I just didn't have a lot of experience with them 1,000 years ago. I was much more familiar with the Electro Voice microphones, but I bought my first ones when I had to buy a bunch of microphones for an interview desk, and I just didn't have enough to buy enough matching Electro Voice mics, so I bought I bought SM7Bs. And I wonder if they came out with the SM7DB in partly in order to combat the counterfeits.
It certainly helped a little bit, except the problem is within, I don't know, 6 months of the SM7DB coming out, I have a fake SM7DB. It has a cloud lifter built into it.
How
and
fast?
It works.
You said several months.
It works.
Several months.
Several months, yeah.
Wow.
What is a new Electro Voice RE20 going for? Here's B&H. So $450?
$450 is what it was.
Is that a
yeah.
U? Yeah. And quite honestly, if you're a YouTuber or a podcaster, isn't the RE320 basically the same thing? Basically, just
the RE320 has actually got more in common than the 27, RE27ND.
Yeah. Okay.
The capsule of the RE27ND is more similar to the RE320, except the 320 only has one switch, and the circuitry in the 27 is much more intricate. There's a lot more differences. There's a lot more ways to tune the 27. And it's the quality on the inside is not quite what you get in 27, but I use the 27 all the time. The 320. We have a 27 hanging over the airboard in the other room, but I use the 320 for not almost all my work, but a lot of the work I do. All the voice work I sent to you, Clay, I think was off a 320 or a Bumblebee, or maybe some Bumblebee and some not a Bumblebee, King Bee, Neat King Bee version 1, or a
good mic
320. Yeah, I've got all four. I've got the old worker, and old King, and the new worker, and the new King. Which one? I'll let you borrow one. I know the old one or the new one.
I have no idea. I don't know the difference. So
I think I've got 3.
Better get yourself a new stand.
They're heavy.
Yeah, but I think I've got 2 or 3 of the original, the OGs. So maybe I'll ship one out to you for you to play with. But they are heavy.
Can't handle it. How heavy are they?
About 2.5 pounds, I think.
Yeah, that's about not much worse than the SM7B, right?
Oh, it's much worse.
Is it? Okay.
I think so.
I still think this will handle it.
Yeah, probably.
What's up?
But Joe, you bring up a really good point though, I'm sorry. The commenter, who was it? The commenter in the audience said I'd get an RE320. If I had a friend that had $450 or $550 to spend on an SM7DB, I'd be more inclined to say to them, go get an RE20. spend that money on an RE20, because as far as I know, they're not being counterfeited. And it's an excellent microphone. Whether I would spend that kind of money on it for my YouTube channel or for my podcast, it's a whole other conversation. But if you're bound and determined to spend that money, it's a great microphone, and it's a direct competitor for the Shure SM7B and SM7DB. And might even be more popular when it comes to radio stations. I don't know, Joe, you'd know more about that than I would. But isn't the RE320 the radio station microphone?
Yeah, it is.
Or
it
RE20,
is.
RE20, excuse me.
The RE20, yes, the RE20 has been the most popular radio station mic. The RE3 or the SM7B is much more popular with podcasters, but I don't want to crap on the 7B, because for some people it's great. It's not great for me, but for some people it's great. Yeah. But I got into a conversation. It wasn't a conversation, but podcastage. Andrew Scott was doing something about is there a such thing as a broadcast microphone? And I sent him a long kind of letter saying broadcast microphones are microphones that have been adopted by the industry. And in all the radio stations I've ever been in, and I've not been in all of them, and I'm probably the Neumanns are probably more popular in Europe, but they in the United States, in most AM/FM radio stations, there's 7B, Sennheiser 421. Those are actually very popular in radio stations. But those are the ones that I see most of. NPR, they often use 416s when they're doing interviews. Their booth has got Neumann 87s, at least in my market. They've got Neumanns in their booth. But yeah, I don't see as many 7Bs in radio. It's mostly RE20s.
Yeah. I guess,
and 27s.
If money were no object, I mean, I have my dream microphones that I'd love to own, but like a Sennheiser 441, just that microphone seems like it would sound wonderful on my voice, but I don't know. I haven't tested it out. But it sounds good on artists that I respect, that I really enjoy listening to. I'm familiar with their voices, and they're like, oh man, I'd love to have one of those. But you know what? That's never going to happen.
You have to rent one. Rent one.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm never going to own one, because even used, they're like $700-800. It's crazy, or more.
Yeah, they're crazy expensive. Up. Yeah.
But it really is a horse of a different color, right? It is. Yeah. It's a really interesting microphone. Where was I going with this? Oh, there's plenty to buy without having to be at risk used. There's plenty of quality mics to buy, and every day there's new mic manufacturers that come online that, even if what they're making, are based on one of those, because I guess they're all based on those circuits and those capsules. No, actually, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. Who is it? Was it Lewitt? No, not Lewitt. Loughton. They have a 38 millimeter.
The Atlantis, or is that Loughton?
Yeah. Loughton Audio, the Atlantis. Yeah. It's in the Atlantis, and it's in the another one that shares its body style. And the only place you can get that capsule is from Loughton. You know, it's not mass produced in some Chinese factory or some German factory, or, you know, it's made by them, and it's in their microphone, and that's it. And there are new mics that come on. There are even SE. I have a lot of respect for SE as a brand, even though they are, you know, a Chinese brand. I have a lot of respect for the product that they produce. But there's always there's more than enough options. Is that a V7?
Mm-hmm. It's the green one.
Yeah.
You can't tell in this light. Pigtown Sports just said he loves his Lewitt. and he can make it sound as good as a 7B. Yeah, Lewitt's are, the LCT 240 and 440 are great microphones, really great microphones.
But I would never buy. I wouldn't buy any of them used, because you can buy on AliExpress. I hate to make that the litmus. And based on a conversation I had with a gentleman on Group DIY, a long ongoing conversation where he was talking about, he knows where those microphones are produced. He knows the factors in. He goes to China all the time, and they are massively counterfeited throughout China and I guess Asian other countries. And that inventory makes its way here into the used market. And
here's my Lewitt LCT 240 from AliExpress for $7.
Yeah.
But I knew what I was getting.
Yeah.
I was just curious, and I wanted to make a video. I say, I bought this mic so you don't have to. I haven't made that video yet, and I'll get $7 worth of use out of the stand and the cable, maybe, but it's garbage. The mic itself is garbage.
I'm surprised you got it for $7, because when I go on AliExpress and I look at Lewitt microphones, the thing is they're not much cheaper, and in some cases more expensive.
Now, Joe, when you bought that, did it say Lewitt LCT 240 when you were buying it? Or did it say nothing like that?
It says LGT 240.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
LGT 240.
Yeah, I'm looking at an LCT 240 on AliExpress for $16.92, and I'm logged in, so that's actual real pricing.
Does that one say LCT? Or LGT?
Mine says LGT.
No, I was asking Philip about the one that he just told us about.
I can't get close enough to the microphone in picture to actually see. Now, this one on the photo that they've got, of course, these could just be photos of Lewitt product. It says LCT 240.
Yeah.
They've got I guess that's a 25 millimeter for $16.92. And no, it's the same capsule.
Why does it never go?
But see, that's the interesting thing. This looks like a 34 millimeter capsule in here, but the LCT 240 it's a 19 millimeter capsule, isn't it? It's a small diaphragm condenser.
The 240 is like a half inch. Yeah. And so they're probably lying.
Oh, I'm just saying the picture that they're showing now, I can't quite see, it could be what a lot of manufacturers do, which is they just mount that little 19 millimeter capsule inside of a shell that looks like a 34 millimeter capsule.
Earthworks.
Yeah.
Pigtown Sports just said he loves his Earthworks, and there's nothing but to love the Earthworks microphones.
Yeah.
Except the price.
Well,
the price.
I'm talking about the microphone, not the price. Yeah.
You're right. No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be super negative. No, Earthworks are amazing microphones. I wish I had one in my kit. I don't. But I suspect that I'd like the way my voice sounds on it. They just seem to be
the ethos. I'm not a fan of the what's the one that's USB only?
Oh, well,
I can't. You wouldn't know. There's an Earthworks that's a USB one, and it's expensive, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But even the sound to me doesn't sound as good as the ethos.
And there's a question, there's a comment, there's a topic for another podcast, which is, should you buy a USB microphone? I think
Icon.
That's
it. Pigtown Sports just said it. Icon. That is definitely the one. It looks very similar to the ethos.
Of course you should, Philip. Of course you should buy one.
I think there are great USB microphones.
I think that part of the problem with lots of people is that they're buying a lot more than they need. I threw this on because I haven't used it in a long time, but for most of my meetings, I use this ancient C1000S. And most people think it sounds great, and it's not a bad microphone if used correctly.
It's
weird.
I
because
loved your series on that.
Thank you. the idea that most people do not care what your microphone is. I've heard voiceover actors talk about that you need a great microphone because your competition has a great microphone. But the other side of that coin, right? And there's a little bit of an elitism about that. But you do have to have a good sound if you're trying to compete for work. But the other part of that, though, is if you're trying to create a unique sound, right? Then maybe you should use a microphone that no one else is using, or something. Like I got a lot of work off my Neat King B. I got a lot of work off my Bluebird, my Bluebird. I think the Blue Ember is really good, and when they went on sale, I snagged one. So I don't know. We could. I'm just feel like we're talking. I'm running us around in circles, but the idea that right, there's the clones are bad because people are getting ripped off, and it's kind of ruining the thing. Right.
The counterfeits.
Counterfeit. Well, if counterfeits, right? If then you got this, 103, which is it doesn't have the badge on it, and they're hoping people buy it. But again, it was on sale for like $16 or something. And but it's not trying to. It was packaged like a Neumann, but it didn't say Neumann on it. But by looking at, I think that maybe the verbiage said so. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
This does say Neumann. This does have the badge on it, and they do sell a TLM 103 that says Neumann on it.
And then you've got the Bifaley, right, which is a lot taller than the Neumann, but styled very much like the 103, and has the badge, except the badge says Bifaley. Except most of the Bifaley stuff is pretty good for the cost. I got a bunch. I mean, I buy a bunch of the cheap stuff because I teach all the time, right? So students ask me about trying microphones, so I like to have a handful of these things for them to use, and I don't have to worry about them in terms of what they, if they beat them up or anything.
Yeah,
I use them for visual aids as much as anything else.
I have 6 Bifaley mics back there, waiting to be reviewed. Because they've been so heavily reviewed, I'm just kind of waiting for those to get old a little bit, and then I'm going to swing it back around and say, "Is Bifaley worth buying in 2026?" But I agree with you. I like them. I agree with Time Preservation Society and Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov about they nailed it when it came to their tuning. I mean, the Bifaley, the 25 millimeter electret sounds not identical, but close enough to a C414 at a fraction of the price. And it's emulating a C414 in design too. But I guess the thing is Bifaley maybe they are cloning, kinda. They're not really clones. They're like clones with genetic disorder. Visually they're close enough, but they're not. So
they're not counterfeits, but they're in the spirit of.
Yeah, it's like, there you go. That's the term. It's a cloner fit. That they are on the border of calling it a cloner fit.
But that's exactly what this is.
Yeah. Except
that no one knows that, right? Because when the V7 and the V7X came out, everyone was comparing them to the 57 and the 58. But the problem is these have neodymium magnets in them. So what they should have been comparing them to was the Beta 57 and the Beta 58. Does that make sense? And I don't think anyone did. And these are great. These are really good. But they didn't come out and market it. They didn't market it as if it was a 57 and try to fool you. And that's one of the reasons that SE's got a lot of great mics.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I cut Bifaley a lot of slack, because but they're walking a lot closer to that line, right? Because
the 414,
they do have on almost all of their microphones are visual copies of a Neumann or an AKG, right? They do have a couple of originals that I think they're originals, Air. The one that I forget the model number. I like the way it sounds in my voice. V8. Anyway, it's got the clear window on it, the little plastic window, which if
Yeah,
you
that
touch
doesn't
it,
look like anything.
no, that's an original, and I like the way that sounds in my voice. I was going to actually use that for this call tonight, but this was on the stand that I was running late, and I'm like, I sound good enough. It's like, I cut them a lot of slack, but they're on that edge because their badge is in the exact same spot that Neumann is, and it is triangular, and it uses the similar lettering. And I want to be super clear. I am not saying that they are producing counterfeit, but they're so close that every time I bought one, I'm like, am I putting money potentially into the pocket? Because how hard is it to change up the line and say, okay, we produce X number of our branded ones, and now we're just going to run, because they have this exact same microphone, same packaging, everything. The only difference, even the same graphic, right? But it just says by Faley, right?
Oh, really? They've got a 705.
If you go on Alibaba, and you look in the by Faley store, they have it is physically like their other mics, physically identical, but unlike all their other mics, the packaging, other than the fact that it doesn't say Neumann, it says by Faley. It's this. I see that, and I can't help. I don't want to slander somebody, but I can't help but wonder. They're in Guangdong. They are part of a large microphone component manufacturing company. How hard is it to just change up the line and crank out 1,000 ones that say Neumann? But I don't have any proof that they're doing that. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm just trying to describe what gives me pause, because I think they kind of walk that line. Did I coin a new term, or did you come up with the term? The
Counterfeits.
I just said it.
Oh, you did.
Counterfeit. Yeah. Counterfeit. I need to register that. Counterfeit.
Yeah, on that line. Yeah, and I think that other manufacturers, I don't know. There's other things too that bug me, because marketing. I don't know. This is probably an hour-long video to talk about some of the history of marketing and how things have gone awry and how specs are actually wrong. And I don't know who to blame. I don't know if I should blame the consumer or the market or the marketers, but so many things are wrong just for most manufacturers. And then there's another manufacturer I saw that a microphone that I bought, it was super cheap. And I went on their webpage, and I'm going to make a video about it. So I started pulling graphics down, right click, save image as, and the polar pattern was from a different one of their microphones. And the frequency response graph was actually named one of their different microphones. So what they had up on the website was not even from that microphone. They just cobbed something together that was close enough. And the whole idea of, this is a large diaphragm condenser. It's like, no, it's not. It's got a 1/2-inch capsule. It's in the style of a large diaphragm condenser, but it's not a large diaphragm condenser. Nowhere close to being a large diaphragm condenser, which is too bad, because that makes people think that small diaphragm condensers are no good, and they have their place. They're very articulate. There's nothing wrong with small condenser microphones. So I don't know if it's us to blame, meaning the general public who always thinks bigger is better, or if it's somehow the marketers do that. In some of my videos, I do talk about electric condenser microphones, and I usually refer to them as internally polarized or externally polarized, because electric condensers have such a bad rap. Most shotgun microphones are electric condensers, or maybe not most. I've never done the math. Many shotgun microphones, even good ones. Some of the best Shure microphones are electric condenser microphones. Some of the good AKG microphones are electric condenser microphones, but those companies have made good ones. It is true that there's a lot of garbage electric condenser microphones in a lot of electronics and phones and all kinds of things, but that's not to say that all electric condenser microphones are garbage. So I don't know. It's weird that the hangups that we have, that marketing seems to just run away from, like the large condenser thing, and frequency response and a lot of other things. It's just very, very unfortunate. Although I know from where I'm sitting that if you put real specs in a spec sheet, most people wouldn't know what it means anyway. Just because in the old days, engineers looked at specs, and now other people look at specs and they think that they're specs, but they're not specs.
Yeah. I spend my days in the world of video projectors, everything from low-end consumers all the way to, I've got a $35,000 Panasonic that's sitting behind the curtain that it's my next review, right? Pro projector. But the manufacturers, as time has gone on, they don't put basic specs in their materials anymore because they just don't want to get caught up in the discussion because so many competitors are outright lying, or, they don't bother. So it's like, I mean, I remember when I worked at Sony with televisions, and the big spec everybody talked about was contrast. What is your contrast? And they just threw their hands up in the air and said, you know what? If everybody's going to lie, they tried. They did lawsuits. They engaged. It was like, and bottom line is, it only takes one bad player, and unfortunately, there was more than one bad player, to ruin it for everybody. So finally, they said, screw it. And if everybody's going to put ridiculous contrast numbers on their products, and it's insane what they label these things, projectors with dynamic contrast. It's insane. But Sony years ago said, screw it. All of our televisions, all our projectors, they are infinity to 1. And they came up with a good logical argument for doing that, because there is a way you can measure it that it's immeasurable. So it's infinity. So that's why when you buy, I mean, at a certain point, you're just kind of like, we tried to play nice, and so we're just not going to list that anymore, or we're gonna do infinity to 1, and just take the discussion off the table.
Rode is one of the ones that doesn't lie about frequency response because they just don't give you one. So it says, like, I pulled up the NT3, and it says frequency range 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, because if you don't have an error, it's not a response.
Right. That's the range of human hearing, best case scenario,
range,
right?
But it doesn't say how well, plus or minus how many decibels from one end to the other, and that's what a true response needs. So they just put up a crappy graph, and they don't tell you what the curve, the curvature they're using to smooth the curves out. Anyway, again,
is it fair, Joe, to say
technical video?
Would you even want a microphone that is actually reproducing 20?
Nobody does.
20?
Nobody does. Nobody does. That's one of the things they tell my students. I don't get too far into the weeds in my recording class, but I say, you hear people on YouTube all the time say, I want a totally flat microphone. They go, no, they don't. No, they don't. No, you don't. I says, we have them, and we use them for testing. And we don't record with them because they don't sound very good. And they go, well, why do we use the microphones we do? And I go, they're kind of like your favorite jeans. You wear the jeans that make your butt look nice, not to be too crass, but you have a microphone that's complimentary. That's how most people choose the microphone, not because it's flat. That's just we have flat microphones, and I've never seen one on a podcast.
Yeah, no.
No, it's just, so anyway.
And there's also the question of, this is one of the reasons it's probably one of the reasons I love microphones. I love them. I'm not an expert on microphones, but any stretch of the imagination, but I love them. But it's one of the things that gives me pause about talking about microphones. It's probably why there's not a microphone video up on my channel, even though clearly I'm working toward it. because there's
Yeah.
also the fact that a lot of people can't hear the difference between one or the other, especially on YouTube.
I do most of
I
my
mean,
listening. I do most of my. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I do most of my listening when I'm working out. I do cardio every day, and I have a Kindle that I've side loaded YouTube on. I don't know if you can put YouTube on a Kindle now or not, but I've put it on there, and I've got fairly pedestrian Bluetooth headphones for when I'm at the gym. So one day, Bark was asking about some feedback about a microphone he had on Obscure Mics, and I wrote back to Bark and I said, "Hey, Bark," I said, "this is what I heard, but just so you know, I'm listening on my Kindle with my cheap earbuds, you know." And some guy got in the comments was explaining to me what Bark wanted to know. And I said, I know what Bark wants to know. I was reporting to him what I heard through what I was listening on so he would know that scenario.
Right.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, because
It's
we
just-
talk about listening to it in different formats.
Yeah.
In your car.
Right.
You know, with or without headphones.
In my listening room, you know, where I listen to music, in the car with my good headphones, with my crappy headphones, with my whatever. You know, I mean, in the music business, when people are mixing for music, they call it, they refer to that as translation. How does it translate from one space to another space to another space?
Right.
So,
because it's different.
Yeah, I'm trying to was it there's a story about I think it was the guy who mixed Nirvana's album, and now it's just sort of become a practice for producers of music, or it used to be, I don't know if it still is, where it'd be like when you're mastering, you know, somebody's thing, it's like, okay, the sort of the last test is, let's take it out in the car and put it in the car stereo. How does it sound?
Used to be, now it's a cell phone.
So now it's a cell phone, right?
Yeah, and that, I mean, it depends on what you're mixing, because when I used to do video, I was doing video stuff or film stuff, I would have a shitty little, excuse my language, 4-inch speaker that I pulled out of an old TV, because even though some people have 5.1, 7.1, whatever, the vast majority of people are watching TV with the crappy built-in speakers.
Right.
So it has to whatever you're doing with everything else, you know, subwoofers and this and that, it has to also play out of a crappy speaker that's built into a television. So it's not uncommon for you to do all that and make sure that you don't have too much bass to rattle the crappy little speaker. Now, obviously, the technologies have gotten a lot better over the years. But yes, it used to be, I mean, a lot of music producers still go out, put it in the car. What's it sound like on the phone? Those are typical things. But I felt, again, phones have gotten better.
What's it sound like in an environment where you have a lot of external noises? You know, like, I'll give you a good example that kind of compares with everything you just said, Joe. Is I made a wedding video for someone, and when I sent it to her, or gave it to her, I met her and gave it on, you know, like a SD card. She took it home and watched it. Well, she ended up having trouble, and I had to come to her house and help her with something. And I she brought me in the living room, and she goes, "Here, I'm gonna put the video on now." She turns on her TV and puts the video on, using her living room TV. Her TV, everything was blue. Like, the whole screen was blue. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You're viewing a video that I produced for you on a TV that everything is blue? Like, you know, so I'm like, how can you see the quality that I put into this if everything's blue? So same thing with listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
I just thought that related well.
One of the very last it's blue. One of the very last projects I worked on before I left SONY, one of my guys, a brilliant guy, also Phil, and he came up with this. Our biggest competitor at the time was Samsung, and you know, obviously you buy the competition stuff, and he, in looking at it, noticed that their television just wasn't producing a certain range of colors. And so he came up with this brilliant idea, and we ended up calling it, "Is Your TV Colorblind?" And basically we came up with this content that the content was mastered in those colors that the Samsung televisions out of the factory just didn't bother reproducing because Samsung didn't care, right? They were like, who cares? But it made a great demo. Oh my God. We got such shit for that. We were liars. We were cheaters. It wasn't real. We were fake. And there was some program on the on the USB drive. You know, Samsung went to Best Buy. Best Buy threatened to pull our products because they were selling 10 times as many Samsung televisions as they were Sony TVs. They weren't interested in having more people buy less Samsung, right? I mean, it's so much. It's not about what's real. And why was it blue? Because we have the same problem on projectors. Projectors have a limited amount of brightness that they can produce. And the brighter settings, the settings that people perceive as brighter, are the bluer settings, right? It's not accurate color, but it to the human brain, and even when people don't know why, blue is brighter. It cranks up the lumens. There's more lumens, more brightness. So, but you're right, Clay. It's not accurate at all.
How can you make a good assessment on something if you're not listening to it the way it's going to?
Most people don't even take their television out of showroom mode when they get it home. I mean, televisions have a showroom mode where the colors are nuclear green and nuclear red because that television has to pull somebody in from 200 feet away across the store, right? Or get their attention with everything else. But most people don't even know enough to take it out of showroom mode, because after about 30 minutes of watching it, you're just not going to like the picture. You won't know it, but it'll be turning off because it's just ridiculous how inaccurate and overblown it is. Most people don't know enough to care enough. Even people that I was shocked.
Yes.
Should
look at the question. We got to take some time here to look at some of these comments. Somebody's asking, I've put it up twice. Hang on.
He said, if we're out on the SM7B, what's your favorite mic for YouTube?
Oh, wow. I have so many mics that I like. It's hard to say I have a favorite.
Well, I'll answer that question in a different way, and then maybe you can come back to it. I think I've only been live 2 times, 3 times, twice. Is this it, Clay? The only time 2 times I've ever been live on YouTube?
If it's anything, it's 2 or 3.
So I am not currently a live YouTube influencer or podcaster, something I might get into at some point. So I would love you to go to my channel and listen. I've only made maybe a dozen videos, but they're usually using the microphones I'm talking about. So it would be interesting to hear you tell me what you think my favorite mic should be. I just know from when I'm working here at the radio station, the SM7B, as we have it set up for guests, is a little bit too mossy for me. It's a little bit too much in the low end. Now I know I could get that out. It's a microphone that tunes pretty well, but I usually often just run in and sit down and go with it. So I know that the RE20 is better for me, but there's a lot of other microphones that are good too. Philip, what do you think?
So I tend to think of these in price, right? Like when somebody says, what mic, whenever a friend asks me, what mic should I buy? I'm like, well, what's your budget? Right? I spend an awful lot of time when I'm on the internet using an SM58. I think it's fine. It sounds great. And it's a $109 microphone. And for most people, it's going to sound great. And if it is a little too deep, because it shares an awful lot of, the same characteristics of the SM7B, because they're both Unidyne 3 capsules, even though the 7B is a better microphone, it's tuned differently. But the underlying core technology is still, Unidyne 3. So they do share a lot of characteristics. Even the cheapest audio interface, if you're using an XLR microphone, has the ability to cut the lower frequencies and take a little bit of that rumble out. But
I'm
I think the SM58 is a great one. For,
I'm surprised
that
at the
budget.
perception, how good I sound on the Perception 150, and on Clay's last live
Yeah.
that I was on, the pencil condensers. There's a story from the 57. I was setting up for doing sound for a person who's famous for TV. Most people didn't know that. Most people my age and certainly younger don't know that she had a huge Broadway career before she ever did television. So she kind of, in the later years, made more money doing TV because theater doesn't pay anything. But I was working setting up on the upright bass. It was a jazz quartet vocalist, and it happened to be Florence Henderson, Mrs. Brady.
Oh wow!
I did sound and lights for her. But anyway, I'm setting up. I'm working with the band. Here's what I'm doing for the upright bass, and here's what I'm doing the piano. And she's off working with the music director. And I have all my microphones laid out. Come and get them one at a time. And I come back, and my SM57's gone. And I'm like, where in the hell is my SM57? I'm getting ready to mic up the drum kit. I'm getting pissed off. I'm thinking one of my interns has hidden my 57 on me. And I'm looking all over the place. Did I have it? Did I put it in my pocket? Did I sit it down? What the hell's going on? And then Florence walks up to me and she says, "Oh, thank you for getting me the SM57. This is my favorite vocal microphone." And I'm like, "You're very welcome." And then I had to go get myself another 57 for the snare. But that's when I realized that, all the hangups we have about this microphone is used for this and this only is totally and utterly hogwash. And I've had people argue with me about the fact that you can't use it as a vocal mic. And I go, you most certainly can, especially if you know what you're doing, which she obviously did.
Okay.
Here, Clay.
She had swiped it. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Okay. So
Is that hippie?
So I think.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I gotta make a video about this. No one's cloning this one. You know what brand it is?
It's probably like straight out of the
Is that a Shure?
Yeah. No.
Is that
Electro Voice?
No, not a Shure.
Electro Voice from
Electro Voice.
1942.
42. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does it sound good through a modern board interface?
It's it's okay.
Or is it thin?
It's a little bit, but it's probably stiff, right? It probably doesn't. I should just use it a bunch just to get it back in service.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the original cable, but I don't want to use the original cable because it's a little stiff. So I've got a new MC3M connector. So I'm going to make it a new cable. It does work.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I'm going to make a video about that. So
SM58 for me, if you've got around $100 to spend in that same price range, an SE 835, although buy new, don't buy used, because there's tons of clone or counterfeits out there.
SE 835.
Same thing for the 9. Yeah, the E835. It's again, it's a nice little microphone for what it does. You want to get a couple $100 more to spend. I like the SE, the Dynacasters. Not everybody does because they can be a little harsh, but the DCM6 with the cloud lifter in it.
I have that one in my cart.
Yeah, you can find that for $99.
It was like $100.
And if you want if you want the look, the MV7s, there's a whole variety of MV7s. I don't know if those are being cloned or not, but
MV7 from who?
Sure.
Okay. I knew they make a MV7. I just didn't know if you were talking about what we were talking about, the SEs.
I don't think so. But speaking of Shure, one of my new favorites, SM4. It's a condenser, right? I did not expect to like this based on the other reviews that I saw, but I like the way my voice sounds on it, and I
think
didn't have to worry about that. But
it's like a lot of these reviews, you say you weren't sure about buying one because of the reviews you saw, but the reviews are all based on one person's voice typically,
Right.
and every person's voice sounds different on each mic. So that's
Yep.
not even a good assessment
Um,
to go by.
I mean, don't. I'll say this, but don't tell anyone I said this. It's not that's going out on the internet or anything. But I watch reviews. I love reviews, and I also think they're utterly ridiculous because of what you just said, Clay.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea of what your voice is supposed to sound like, so I have no
Right,
basis for
right.
comparison,
Yeah.
and I have no idea of what your room sounds like. So when you're doing the off-axis rejection, I have no idea of how effective that is because I don't know where your monitors are, how many monitors you have, what your treatment is like. Again, I still watch it, and it might be, it can be instructive, but it's not always instructive
Right.
depending on who's doing it. Yeah.
It's something to do
Yeah.
for me.
Oh no, I get it. I
But-
get it. I
but
understand
it's
why
just
people
like-
do it. I understand why people ask people to do it.
Yeah.
I know that Bander probably does most of the stuff that he does to microphones during his reviews because people have asked him to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the banging on stuff test is kind of silly because there's
resonance test. I love it.
But the thing is if you bang your microphone and you're in a live setting, it sucks to be you. If you bang your microphone in your recording session, it's another take. I mean, you don't do that. Now, gaming is a whole different thing, right? Banging on a keyboard is just not part of my world. So that's part of someone else's world. Anyway.
I wasn't laughing at I don't want to offend. I wasn't laughing at him. I was laughing because I think it, the way it looks, I think it's valid because I've got an ENG microphone that's a very popular Shure ENG microphone, and it's got a real resonance problem. It's got such a resonance problem that when you talk into it the wrong way, it resonates.
Which one is it?
So it is the I've got the SM63, the SM62. It is the one down from that. Oh God.
I know which one you were talking about the other day.
No, it's not the little. It's actually the little brother to the
63
ENG version of this.
Right.
No, it's an M. So this is it. Oh, yeah, I'll have to look it up and see. But it just resonates. There's a Sonal that is practically unusable. It's an ENG mic and it's not usable. And at first I thought this is broken, but then I bought another one and it has the exact same thing. Any little movement of your hand is transferred right up to the capsule and it does that.
Oh.
And I'm like,
is it a
ENG
handheld mic?
Yeah. It's a reporter microphone. It's a reporter microphone that God help you if you're actually using it. Because it is not made to be touched.
A what, Joe?
A flag. The little
flag
box that has
that has your call letters on it or whatever. Weird. It would be weird that you would have to have that on there, but
yeah, it's one of the microphones that I've got all these ideas for videos. It's like how can you reduce resonance on a microphone? How can you reduce any of the vibrations? Is it possible aftermarket? Again, idea for a video. Like the SM58. They got Celastic or glue inside of it, basically.
Yeah,
is that one of the reasons?
Fill it with spray foam.
Yep. Okay.
Fill what?
There you go.
The mic body.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, that would do it.
And I bet different spray foams give you different. Just like different foam gives you different response. You're basically hacking a mic. You were talking about all over the place. You were talking about microphones that are designed for one thing. So I got this is an MXL instrument mic. It's a very interesting dynamic mic, MX2. This is designed to hang, flat against your guitar cabinet, right?
I've never seen one of those.
It's got two capsules in it, and you can tune back and forth in between. And I was like, I wonder what that would sound like on my voice. And you know what? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that it's like having, how often when you're micing a cabinet, you'll have an SM57 and a ribbon microphone. You have two distinctly different voiced microphones that together make something that sounds different and good and gives you the ability to, in post, to do more, because you can lean more toward the microphone that has one sound. Or this is basically that built in. And I've been playing around with it, my voice. My only problem is the electronics that they put in here are noisy. The electronics that are letting you,
airiness.
it's just hiss. It's just got some hiss.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
there are plenty of microphones that have hiss in them. Sound great.
Yeah, that's one of the things that again, I started my MXL series and I haven't gotten very far. But the idea, I really don't want to beat up on MXL because they put a lot of pretty good microphones out in the marketplace for a pretty decent price. But when you're dealing with a budget brand, they just how can I say this? The electronic parts that most budget brands get do not have the same tolerances that the more expensive brands have. So if you happen to get a microphone which has more than a few of the parts out of tolerance, it's not going to operate the way it should. So you just have a higher chance of getting a lemon when you're buying from, and I'm not talking about MXL, I'm just talking about whether it's a car, I don't care what it is. When you're buying a budget, anything, you're more likely to get something that's not quite perfect when you're doing that. I've got a bunch of MXL microphones. They tend to be a little bit noisy than the microphones are trying to emulate, but they also sound pretty good. And in this day and age with the electronics we have, a little bit of noise is not typically the biggest part of our problem.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think these things, they don't have a published self noise on it because it's a dynamic microphone, but I think it's got around 20 or 22 dB self noise.
It sounds dynamic with 20. Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's because whatever the electronics are that they put in here, because they don't care. It's meant to go on an electric amplifier, right?
A cabinet, so
they're like,
right? Sound cabinet, doesn't matter. Yeah, right. Exactly.
But if you balance it right on my voice, even with that, it's like I was telling Clay the other night. We're talking about the U87. Everybody talks about the sparkle on the U87 and the unique characteristics. A lot of it is noise that's introduced, and in a lot of cases, it's on purpose, right? It adds to the flavor and the character of the microphone, the ultimate sound that you get. So, depending on you, I can make my voice sound good on that with no equalization, just balancing back and forth. And it's like an infinite sound. Again, the same sound you can do post on a setup where you've got two distinctly different microphones that are mic'd on the same thing. I haven't done this video because I'm just waiting for people. I don't want to read the comments. It's like, what are you using? An instrument microphone that's, although people use the SM57 all the time for voice, to your point. I don't think that started out as an instrument microphone. It didn't. But this is actually designed to be an instrument microphone. So I feel kind of silly, but I like it. And it's interesting. So, yeah. So, but that point that you make there, Joe, about the consistency, that's an argument, I think, for why you would buy from Shure, from Sennheiser, from SE, instead of Bifaley. As lucky as they seem to have gotten on the different microphones they've gotten, be pretty consistent, I don't know that they've got the consistency of a Shure. An SM58 sound, for the most part. Did we lose Joe?
No. I don't think so. Yours froze for a minute.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was Pags over at MEI Studio who compared a really old 57 with a brand new 57 and found them so similar that it didn't matter which one.
Well, I hope that's not me.
Nope, now it's him. It could just be me. Could be the internet. I don't know. It's all right. We'll just hang out and wait. Somebody's bound to come back. He might be not coming back. This is what happened earlier though with you when that happened. Are you there? Okay. Don't know what happened. I may have to hang it up and bring them back on because it's just froze. I don't know if you guys can tell me if I'm froze or not, but how about let me know if you guys can see me and hear me, and then I don't know, I'll do something. Maybe it's because we're almost at 2 hours. It's like, hey, you've been talking enough, shut up. Chris, can you see me and hear me? Can you answer that? Okay, I'm still good. Yeah, so them two guys are gone, and I don't know why them two both would be gone without it being a fault on my end of my stream. So Philip said he's logging back in right now. Let's see. I'll close these out. So currently they are unavailable. Philip is going to try to log back in right now. He says it kicked him out. Not sure why. I'm not sure what happened with that. I don't know. I don't know if it would just be, I mean, you're talking about two different people at two different complete ends of the country. One's in California, one's in Ohio. So I'm not sure. I do know neither have come back in yet. They both say they are trying to log back in. Yeah, it's China's fault. Well, I'll take this moment to say hi to everybody. I was trying to say hi earlier and I couldn't get a word in. King Paco, well, you actually already said hi to him. Pigtown Sports, I was trying to say hi to you earlier, and you as well, Chris. So there, I've said it. Now we're just waiting. No. This is weird. All right, so like, you know, that it's happening live. So now we're just dealing with the problem. We're just dealing with a technical issue. Give me a minute and I'll communicate with these guys. Has not rang yet. So maybe perhaps we do call it a night, just because of this. I don't know, because I got two of them. They're both. Joe said, I shut down the screen and hit the link again that I started on. Okay. It's Ecamm, and haven't had this happen before. So I've used it a few times and I've been happy with it. I picked Ecamm because it's built into my MacBook. So far it's been good. But this is new. So I don't know. I don't know if those guys are watching, looking at the live, but I'm not seeing nothing. Normally I get like this, it's almost like a phone call and I can just answer it and then it brings you in. I was reading his comment. Joe's comment. That one. All right. Well, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up because neither one of them are being successful in getting logged back into the show. So that was it. We were talking about counterfeits, clones, and deceptive marketing practices, plus some other stuff. So I appreciate everybody that came and watched, and we are going to try to do this. I'm trying to do it every week, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Whether or not I can actually do it every single Sunday, I'm not positive yet, so don't hold me to it. So that's it. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out and having your questions brought on, and we'll see you again in the next one. Have a good one.